The story of the 1980 United States 1-cent coin, Lincoln penny, in the bustling world of American numismatics. Few coins carry the weight of history quite like the humble 1-cent piece. The 1980 Lincoln cent, often simply called the penny, is more than just pocket change. It's a tangible link to over a century of American ideals, innovation, economic shifts, and artistic legacy. Struck during a time of high inflation and cultural reflection, this coin embodies the enduring spirit of Abraham Lincoln and the nation he helped preserve. Let's dive into its fascinating tale, exploring both the front, obverse, and back, reverse sides, the brilliant minds behind its creation, the reasons for its existence, and even its surprising value in today's international collector market. This is a story of art, politics, perseverance, and a little bit of hidden treasure. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Old World Coins Vault. Here, we bring you the oldest, the rarest, and the most mysterious coins from around the world. Do you want to know which coin is worth millions? Which coin is hiding one of history's biggest secrets? And which coin looks ordinary today, but could make you rich tomorrow? So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's open the Old World Coins Vault. The front side of the 1980 penny features the iconic right-facing profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This design was crafted by Lithuanian-born sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Brenner, an immigrant who arrived in America in 1890, drew inspiration from a famous photograph of Lincoln taken by Matthew Brady. He captured Lincoln's thoughtful, weary expression, deep-set eyes, prominent beard, and resolute jaw, symbolizing wisdom, integrity, and the burdens of leadership during the Civil War. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust," a motto that became mandatory on U.S. coins after the Civil War. To the left is liberty, evoking the core American value that Lincoln fought to uphold. The date 1980 sits at the bottom, along with the mint mark, if present, none for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco proofs. Brenner's initials VDB are subtly placed on Lincoln's shoulder truncation, a detail restored in 1918 after an initial controversy. Brenner's journey to this design is inspiring. A self-taught artist skilled in metals and plaques, he was selected after President Theodore Roosevelt sought a fresh, dignified portrait for the cent. Moving away from the Indian head design, Roosevelt admired Brenner's Lincoln plaque and pushed for its use. The result was revolutionary. The first U.S. circulating coin to feature a real historical figure, not an allegorical one. Over 100 billion Lincoln cents have been minted since, making Brenner's work one of the most reproduced artworks in human history. The backside showcases Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 for the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. It replaced the earlier wheat reverse, 2 stalks of wheat, symbolizing prosperity, that had been on the coin since 1909. The memorial, a grand neoclassical structure in Washington, D.C., built between 1914 and 1922, stands as a symbol of national unity and remembrance. Gasparo depicted it frontally, with its 36 columns representing the states at the time of Lincoln's death, steps, and inscription United States of America arched above, with E pluribus unum, out of many, 1 and 1 cent below. A delightful hidden detail. If you look closely between the central columns, there's a tiny seated figure of Lincoln himself inside the memorial, a subtle tribute within a tribute. The design has 13 stars along the rim in some interpretations, though simplified. This reverse lasted until 2008, circulating on billions of coins. Frank Gasparo, born in 1909, coincidentally Lincoln's birth centennial year, was a Philadelphia artist who rose to become the 10th chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. He worked on many coins, including the Kennedy half-dollar reverse and Eisenhower dollar. For the memorial, he created models from photographs and visits, refining it among competitors. His design was chosen for its elegance and relevance. The 1959 change honored Lincoln's legacy amid post-war patriotism. By 1980, the U.S. faced economic challenges like stagflation under President Jimmy Carter. With high unemployment and rising prices, pennies were minted in massive quantities. over 12.5 billion in 1980, across mints to meet everyday transaction needs as inflation eroded value. The composition was still 95% copper and 5% zinc, weight 3.11 grams, before the 1982 shift to zinc core copper plating due to copper costs. The coin was made at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Philadelphia led with about 7.4 billion, Denver over 5.1 billion. It was produced to facilitate commerce, but also continued a tradition of honoring Lincoln as a unifying figure. Continuing our journey into the 1980 Lincoln cent, we move beyond the artistic designs to the broader historical tapestry, the economic necessities that drove its mass production, the human stories of its creators, and the coin's place in today's collector world. This penny wasn't born in isolation. It emerged from decades of evolution, national challenges, and quiet innovation at the U.S. Mint. The 1980 1-cent coins were struck, primarily at the Philadelphia Mint. No mint mark, massive, 7,414,705,000 pieces. And the Denver Mint, D mark, 540,098,660 pieces. San Francisco produced a smaller number of proof coins, about 355 million, exclusively for collectors, bearing the S mark. These facilities operated under the direction of the U.S. Treasury and the Chief Engraver's Office. By 1980, Frank Gasparo was still the chief engraver, serving 1965-1981, overseeing the dies based on Victor Brenner's original obverse and his own 1959 reverse. Victor David Brenner, 1871-1924, the obverse designer was a Lithuanian Jewish immigrant who arrived in New York in 1890. Self-taught and gifted in medallic art, he created the Lincoln portrait after President Theodore. Roosevelt personally championed the idea for the 1909 centennial. Brenner's work faced early drama. His full VDB initials on the reverse caused public outcry over self-advertising, leading to their quick removal. They returned subtly on the shoulder in 1918. Brenner's design revolutionized American coinage by honoring a real president, rather than Lady Liberty or Native American motifs. Frank Gasparo, 1909-2001, born exactly on Lincoln's 100th birth anniversary, apprenticed under influences tied to Brenner himself. As a Philadelphia sculptor, he won a 1958 competition to redesign the reverse for Lincoln's 150th birthday. His Lincoln Memorial captured neoclassical grandeur while hiding a miniature Lincoln inside a charming coin within a coin, detail that delights sharp-eyed collectors. Gasparo proudly showed cashiers his design on everyday pennies, knowing billions carried his art. By 1980, America was grappling with stagflation, high inflation, unemployment, and energy crises under President Jimmy Carter. Copper prices were rising, prompting the mint to experiment with cheaper alloys. Tests in 1980-81, but they continued striking the traditional 95% copper, 5% zinc composition, 3.11 grams, for one more year before the major 1982 switch to copper-plated zinc. Over 12.5 billion 1980 cents were produced to keep commerce flowing. Pennies were essential for pricing ending in 99 cents, and inflation meant more transactions required them. Symbolically, Lincoln remained a beacon of unity during turbulent times, his image reminding Americans of resilience through the Civil War and beyond. The coin's creation also continued a long tradition, honoring Lincoln as the great emancipator while adapting to modern needs. The memorial reverse, introduced in 1959, reinforced themes of national healing and democracy. The Lincoln cent is one of the most reproduced artworks ever, over 100 billion since 1909. Brenner, an immigrant, achieved immortality through the humblest denomination. Gasparo once reflected on the pride of seeing his work everywhere. There are intriguing errors too. A 1980 doubled die obverse, FS 101, can fetch thousands in high grades. Off-center strikes, die cracks, or rare transitional pieces add excitement for hunters. One high-grade 1980D recently made headlines with strong auction results, showing even common dates hold surprises. In the international collector market, ordinary circulated 1980 pennies are worth face value 1 cent, or slightly more for copper. Content, roughly 2 to 3 cents. Melt value, though melting is illegal. Uncirculated examples in MS6566, red sell for $202,000. Top grades, MS67 Plus, red, can reach $1,030,000 or more. Proof S coins in Deep Cameo are prized. Rare errors like doubled dies have sold for $300,000 plus. A standout 1980D in MS64 red reportedly hit $8 to $10 million at auction in recent years, an outlier driven by condition rarity. Globally, demand comes from U.S. coin enthusiasts in Europe, Australia, and the Middle East via platforms like eBay and major auctions. Heritage, Stax Bowers. Sets including 1980 cents appeal to type collectors. Its story of immigrant designers, presidential tribute, and economic adaptation makes it a compelling narrative, piece for world numismatists.